GM CEO Mary Barra facing another day on the hot seat and a tough day of questioning on Capitol Hill tomorrow over that recall controversy.
Barra, under oath today, was grilled by lawmakers wanting to know if safety was compromised for the sake of cutting costs. 7 investigator Ross Jones in Washington tonight, where he spoke with the families of victims.
Good evening from Washington. Today, victims' families of the GM recall mess were frustrated by what CEO Mary Barra had to say, and even more so by what she wouldn't say. Today, Barra dodged many of the questions that congressional leaders asked her.
GM knew about the defect in the ignition switches as far back as 2001, 13 years before the recall, correct? Yes or no will work.
The investigation will tell us that.
Even simple questions didn't get straight answers from GM's newly minted CEO today on Capitol Hill. She frustrated congressional leaders trying to probe the company's recall of 2.6 million vehicles with defective ignition switches. The defective part has been linked to at least 12 deaths.
Do you think there was a cover-up or it was sloppy work?
That is the question I've asked Mr. Valukas to uncover, and I'm anxiously awaiting the results from his study.
Barra said GM is in the midst of conducting its own internal probe into what went wrong and why, and they've hired a former U.S. attorney to lead it.
Will you share the full report?
We will share the appropriate information.
Not the full report.
Again, I don't know if there will be a full report, but we will share.
If there will be a full report, will you share it?
I commit that we will be very transparent and we will share what's appropriate.
So in other words, there's no commitment to share the full report.
I'm saying I will share what is appropriate.
And after 2.5 hours of testimony, Barra met briefly with reporters, answering about a half-dozen questions. She's worked for GM all of her adult life, and as of 2011, the same year some of these bad ignitions were still being installed, she was in charge of vehicle quality.
How could you have not been aware of the defect? And if you really weren't, are there other defects you're not aware of right now?
I became aware of an issue that was being examined. I didn't know of the specific issue in December of 13, late December of 13. I became aware of this specific incident on January 31st after the recall team made this decision.
Barra insisted today that she can't speak for the GM of old, that she said is responsible for the faulty ignitions. She would only say that the company is focused on customer safety now that she's in charge.
Was customer safety not a priority before?
I know what I'm focused on today. I can't speak to...
But you worked for GM for 30 years.
Before today's hearing started, family members of those killed in a defective vehicle placed their loved one's picture in the back of the room, a reminder to Barra and members of Congress of what this defect cost them. But as families left today's hearing, most seemed disappointed.
I did not hear anything different than what I expected. Mary Barra refused to give us answers.
Barra's testimony is not done yet. She'll have to come back tomorrow at 10 a.m. and testify before a Senate panel that's also investigating the GM recall mess. Of course, 7 Action News will be there, and we'll be streaming it live at WXYZ.com. From Capitol Hill tonight, I'm Ross Jones, 7 Action News.